Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. Today I'm sitting down with a few different people to talk about, I suppose, Hydra at the core of it, some use cases for it, DeltaDefi, who were on before, and a new project looking to expand from what they currently support with Arbitrum and looking to support Cardano as well. So looking forward to getting into this. Hinson has been on before. Trym has been on a long time ago at this point. I think even back in the Igon, talking about Igon, the time you were on before. And Philip, you're very welcome to the channel. I'm going to go around the table now to let everyone introduce themselves and see where we go from there. So Hinson, do you want to kick us off?
Yep. Thank you, Paul, for having me today again. So today I come here mostly to talk about something Hydra with Trym, and also introduce a new friends to Cardano community, which is Philip from KnightSafe, which is a friend of us in the Hong Kong startup ecosystem. They've been pretty successful in other ecosystem, and we are seeing a good way that we could collab together so that DeltaDefi could be better. KnightSafe could support one more ecosystem. Overall, it's pretty bullish. So yeah, today is kind of a discussion about what Hydra is doing and what Hydra enable us to do. And after Hydra has enabled us to do high frequency trading, that's a kind of a starting point for other startups like KnightSafe. Find Cardano start to be a little bit interesting to really put in some serious depth time to get Cardano integrated with the dApps. So yeah, super pumped with this discussion.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. I think just some people, Hydra is still just a buzzword that people don't understand where it actually fits. Some people think it is the savior of everything, and then some people don't know where it fits. So hopefully we can give a bit of perspective on it and show people actual use cases of where it can be. Philip, do you want to give the introduction to yourself and a brief overview of KnightSafe then as well?
Yep, sure. Thanks a lot, Paul, for having me here, and thanks, Hinson, for introducing me, into this ecosystem. We have been very active in other chains. What we provide is actually a self-custody DeFi asset management tool to traders so that they can trade on behalf of their clients. Having the whitelist stuff, the governance, segregation stuff, so that no one have to take any kind of other risk. We have been very, active in other chains, TVL over 30 million, but we haven't been able to integrating into Cardano yet, and obviously Hydra as well. So we are pretty excited to be here, yep, I look forward to seeing you guys pretty often in the near future.
Nice. And Trym, do you want to give the intro to yourself, and then we'll kick it on with Hydra and everything else?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Trym. I'm the current product manager for Hydra. I came up with a little idea that you may have heard of, which was the Hydra Doom project that we showed in Rare Evo, and we're just about to do a tournament for as well. So yeah, I've been in the Cardano ecosystem for a while with different projects, like you mentioned Igon before. And yeah, at the moment, my focus is to get Hydra adopted and, bring the benefits of this technology to everyone that's in the Cardano ecosystem, but also outside, to sort of showcase how Cardano can actually scale using this technology. It is important to stress, as you mentioned, Hydra isn't the solution to every problem. It's not going to mow your lawn, but it is a different technology that it's a scaling solution for Cardano that gives certain types of trade-offs that you may or may not want to introduce into your dApp. So hopefully we'll get into a little bit more detail with DeltaDefi, how it sort of fits into this this case. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So yeah, Trym here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I was going to get you to introduce Hydra there, but it is fairly vast. So I'm going to go back to Hinson first to get him to give the overview of DeltaDefi. People who might have seen our previous interview, probably 6 months ago at this point, introducing high frequency trading. And when you look at Cardano and how the blocks are in high frequency trading, doesn't really fit. You did have another solution at that point that you were looking at, but there was some centralized worries there on how the execution happens. I know you said there was transparency that could be there. Do you want to give the overview of what you guys are offering, and then we'll go back to Trym to talk about Hydra and how that fits in as a good solution.
Yep. So for those who didn't read the first interview, I may give a slight background of myself and the team. And ourselves as a Hong Kong-based team that building DeltaDefi, and we aim to initially solve the problem of high-frequency trading for Cardano. But actually, we're a team that's full of people coming from traditional finance background. Myself is one of them. I got working in the bank for 2 years, and I also got CFAs and everything. So my idea is always have been trying to build something on blockchain to solve the needs of traditional finance people. Like they used to trade in Binance or used to trade even stocks and interactive brokers. But actually, from what I understand is there's a huge gap between the TradFi and DeFi, like in terms of the UX point of view. DeltaDefi have been pivoted quite a few times. Originally, we tried to do more financial products to push the gap between the TradFi and DeFi. But we very quickly come to a realization that product itself is not the first blocker for the normal people or traditional people to use. But going back to the very, very basic premises, like when I place an order, I wanted to have instant feedback. And I want to kind of lock the profit or the price instantly without any delay. And also I want to have the settlement confirmed that it's 100% confirmed. And I want to, placing order, cancel order, there's no gas fee. Otherwise I could not perform the traditional market making activities. So this is where DeltaDefi come into the pivot version of version 1. We call it internally, is what we talked about 6 months ago. So essentially, in our version 1 is we try to make the most out of Cardano L1, doing a lot of, we think kind of hacky thing, but only UTXO model can do it, is that we save a lot of transaction status in between in database, and every action still have to get the user signature, and then we do a lot of transaction chaining and so forth to achieve those premises that we have just mentioned: place order, cancel order, zero fee, instant order confirmation, and so forth. Just a background of this, for the version 1 material, we are cleaning up a little bit, although we are no longer using it, but we are still open source for the community to kind of get a sense of what we tried to do and what is kind of possible, but not good UX enough. That's why after DeltaDefi team, me and a few others have met, after we had met Trym in Singapore 2 months ago. Before meeting Trym, we are kind of also one of the normal Cardano people. Like just heard about Hydra, not sure if it's solid, not even think about we could use it. But after talking to Trym, I was just like, hell, this is super close to production. And for the features right now, Hydra is offering right now is already kind of sufficient to bring DeltaDefi into life. So that's why there's a critical point for DeltaDefi team 2 months ago in Singapore to decide totally pivot from the version 1. So essentially we have more than 80% of our code scrapped, rewriting everything. Right now we the progress is we have blind code everything 90-something% already. Today or tomorrow is starting to test function one by one, and we try to have testnet ready by next month. And probably in January or February, we want to run for a public testnet just to let the Cardano community to get a feeling about what's possible with Cardano. And you can imagine it's audible that popping every tens of milliseconds is possible on Cardano, and we are super excited. So yeah. And just one more sentence, as along the way, we also talked to KnightSafe, and we found out that in our product roadmap, a trading force is always in kind of our second priority because it's something that leads to retail adoption. But we have been discussing about if we do it internally or not. But after we met KnightSafe, we definitely will prefer integrating with a more mature company on this domain specifically. That's why we come into this kind of collaboration and try to bring them into Cardano. Yeah.
Nice. I suppose for me to take a step back from what you went through there, the premise of how it works is, I know from our first call, it was the user deposits into a smart contract, and then the only transactions that get executed, I can submit 100 trades, and they aren't actually confirmed on chain until they can be executed. So that means I don't have to pay 100 transaction fees, which is the blocker, I suppose, in having high frequency trading directly onto the main chain. So from my understanding of Hydra, then this definitely can be possible in the funds get, and I'll let Trym take how this would work in a minute. But in simple terms, the funds go into the head instead, and then everything happens within the head. So then you only have to settle back to the chain. So there's minimal actual transactions on the layer one, but you still have the security of what Hydra can offer for the transparency. Trym, I'm going to let you correct and give the full overview of it now.
Yeah, sure. So one way to sort of understand how Hydra fits into this is if you draw the comparison, well, okay, let's take one step back. Why would you want to use Hydra in this setting or at all? Well, one of the things that Hydra provides is quite unparalleled scaling, and very importantly, what's called isomorphism with the layer one. So what does this mean? It means that you can take a couple of tokens from the Cardano layer one, you can lock it up and open up what's called a state channel. Now, state channel is like a sort of temporary parallel blockchain. So you can do all of the same things. You can, execute smart contracts. You can submit transactions. You can do all of the same things that you would on the layer one. In this state channel, that is then operated, by a couple of node operators. And then at the end of this period, you can close it down and settle on the main chain. Now, one of the unique features that makes Hydra incredibly useful is that inside of the Hydra head, you can parameterize things differently. So you can have significantly faster transactions. You can reduce fees to literally zero. If you want, you can increase the transaction size, complexity, execution units, memory. You can really customize what's going on inside of the Hydra head. Although it's technically the same as what's going on the mainnet, but with these custom parameters. Now, if you do 10 transactions or 10 million transactions inside of the Hydra head, it doesn't really matter for the main chain. What happens is you lock up a couple of UTXOs, you do some things inside of the Hydra head that does nothing to do with the main chain, and then you settle it back down, and it sort of gets distributed towards the end state. So the canonical example is you and a couple of friends want to play a poker match. You commit, $50 each or whatever it is. You play, a couple of hundred hands. You have a good night, and then at the end of the day, maybe someone walks home with nothing. Someone walks home with 2 8-hour or whatever, and one lucky guy, walks away with almost all of the pot. Well, the only thing that happens on the main chain then is you put the tokens that you wanted to distribute in this way into the Hydra head, which is a script on the layer one. And then when you pull them out in the way or the method or sort of distribution that was approved by all of the people that are maintaining the Hydra head. Why is this useful? Why is this important? So especially when it comes to trading products, like I used to do a little bit of bot trading, a couple of years ago, and I used perpetual derivatives. What that allows you to do is it allows you to long and it allows you to short different, tokens and whatever, and it allows you to play with leverage. So you can use 10x leverage, 100x leverage, which is something that I used for a little bit there. And when you're doing these things, the timing matters so much. Like a few seconds here or there can be the difference between being liquidated because your position goes so quickly down, or not being able to take profit because it goes so fast up and then back down again. Like, because 100x leverage just makes the sort of the swings bigger in both directions. So if you want to do something like that, typically what you do is go to a centralized exchange like Bybit, for example. Whereas if you want to do this on a blockchain has to do, in order to be decentralized and secure, it has to have certain types of trade-offs. So for example, there is a delay between the block production, right? So on Cardano, on average, it's 20 seconds. On Bitcoin, it's 10 minutes, right? And there's no way you could do any sort of this type of trading on the layer one in these systems, because it's just by necessity, it is too slow. However, there is a reason to connect it to the blockchain, right? Like it has all of these good benefits, but what Hydra enables you to do is use the blockchain as a settlement layer. So you take the tokens that you want to do trading with, you put them inside of a Hydra head, and there you can do all of these, high frequency trades, all of these parameters, millisecond finality. It's a really good environment that's well suited to do this kind of things. And then at the end of this process, or periodically with features like incremental decommits, you're able to pull out profits from the Hydra head and use the layer 1 as a settlement layer. So you're not using the layer 1 as the sort of main hub of trading, but it is the origin and it is the ultimate end state for the assets involved. So what Hydra enables you to do in this case is similar to what a centralized exchange would do, but more decentralizable. So there are multiple different ways where you can sort of spin this up and deployment and all of this, and there's a very detailed conversation we could have about how all of these things impact the people involved, and also the risk for the people involved, especially when it comes to custody. But with an approach like what DeltaDefi are doing, by having the assets on chain in a smart contract, and then just using the Hydra head for execution, you're actually enabling these types of trading instruments like perpetuals, like derivatives, like all of these nice to have sort of financial products that we really would want to bring into a healthy market. You're enabling those, and allowing them to be as performant as they need to, while still using Cardano as the settlement layer, which is really, one of the best places that you can use for settlement layer, one of the most secure and decentralized sort of blockchains there are.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I suppose it just highlights that not everything needs to happen on a layer 1, and really not everything should happen on it. We want as many use cases as possible to benefit from the underlying security architecture of Cardano, but people can do this without trading directly. It all gets settled back at specific times. Increment, commit and decommit, is that already in place for Hydra? That's for, and just to be sure I'm understanding, that's for the heads that I don't have to just specify the number of heads and I have to close it to change that. Well, participants, for people who mightn't be familiar with it.
Yeah, so that's a good point. It's worth highlighting when it comes to Hydra sort of broadly, not just this specific use case. Hydra is currently in a state where we're just about to launch V1. Now, version 1, so at the moment, you can use Hydra on the mainnet. We've done this a bunch of times, and people are welcome to do so. You kind of have to know a little bit what not to do in order to do this, because there are certain edge cases where you might risk locking up some funds. So we have huge red letters saying, okay, do not commit more than X amount into this head on mainnet, right, to prevent people from accidentally losing funds. However, we're very close to amending the sort of circumstances that could lead to this. One of the key features that that we're working on to rectify this is what's called partial fan out, which we can probably get into the details at a later date. But as you mentioned, there are features that we're working on: incremental commits and decommits. Incremental decommits is already done. Incremental commits are close to being done, and they are all going to be part of what Hydra version 1 will include. So as I mentioned, typically how a Hydra head operates is you commit some funds, you open up a Hydra head, and then you allow it to run for a while, and then you close it back down with all of the funds. Now, there's no sort of going back and forth in between there, right? Which it could be super useful. And that's where incremental commits come in, which allows you to take funds on the layer 1 and commit them to an open Hydra head. So while it is in operation, you can add more funds to it. So, for example, for subscription services, this would be super useful. You're about to run out of, I don't know, minutes or data or whatever sort of is being consumed in there, and you can top it up as you go along. Incremental decommits allows you to do the exact opposite, which is, take stuff that you have inside of a Hydra head and pull it out. So that would be, for example, if you're doing, I don't know, some trading inside of a Hydra head, again, not necessarily the best solution for Hydra, like doing it directly like that. But if you were doing that, you could take some profits and you could pull those out of the Hydra head using incremental decommits without having to close the entire head. So you don't have to wait for the head to close before you can actually get them. So those features are going to be included in V1. We're pretty close to getting that done, and then we're going to have a security audit as well of the code base, which is one of the sort of highest priorities for the Hydra team at the moment.
Right, and I suppose because this is all coming from, I'm going to go back to Hinson in a minute, the DeltaDefi, with the UI UX for end users, do they just deposit to the smart contract on the layer 1? They don't have to understand that Hydra handles everything. Obviously, some people want to know from a security aspect, but the majority of people coming into crypto don't really care about how things work underneath. They want to have a simple UI UX, the same as they would have, especially what you're looking at with maybe TradFi guys being able to come in and utilize blockchain. They don't really care about the tech. How will the UI UX look on the front end for them?
Yep. So I think with our version 2, we say, is essentially having identical UX with version 1. Just a couple of details as a difference. For example, in version 1, we have some trade-off, like some trades should be in a certain multiple of a certain number to handle with those min UTXO stuff. Another is like after first transaction confirmed, you still have to wait for the blockchain transaction to use the proceed to place a second trade. This is a version 1 limitation. And on the version 2 limitation, it's like currently we didn't take into account about the incremental commit and decommit yet. The implication is like you have to wait for the Hydra cycle to perform the deposit and withdrawal initially. So this will be kind of the trade-off that we're having. But from the UI UX perspective, it's like we try to literally every day we get into the website of Binance, open up the Binance app, try to mimic as close as possible. So using just without the incremental commit and decommit, you can imagine, for example, you want to deposit some Hydra into Binance. You still have to wait for Binance a couple of minutes or tens of minutes to confirm your deposit. Same as withdrawal. So in a simple metaphor to our app is like this, open and close. There will be certain tranches that you have to wait for maybe a couple of minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. We didn't decide the product details yet for this, but this is a kind of the Hydra head cycle initially. But from the user's perspective, same deposit, then you wait for a while. Then when the Hydra head is open, then deposits confirm. Then you could just start trading, just 0 fee, integrate your API if you like. And we are also building the SDK as well. So just calling function. We try to also rename our database fields and every flag as close to Binance so that the people trading in centralized exchange didn't feel much pain apart from have to do the extra signature on every trade. This is the only difference, but everything the same as centralized exchange that we're trying to build.
Okay, yeah, I suppose look, that's something that people accept when they're using centralized exchanges, or anyone coming in from traditional finance sometimes have to wait days for new funds to get onto a platform. So having a few minutes, I don't think will be an issue. For me anyway, looking at this, your primary target isn't going to be the person who does one trade a month or something like that, and they have to deposit the funds to then start trading. This is for people who are actively trading, who can put the funds into the system and then just get involved in trading, whether that's high frequency trading using bots or different things like that, or whether it's just them being able to have access to the market straight away whenever they want to come in and trade. So I think for this use case anyway, the incremental commits, decommits isn't as big of an issue, or the few minutes wait time. Like it's still not much. But Philip, coming back to you on KnightSafe, is this the type of thing that you would use on other blockchains? Would it be the likes of high frequency trading, or is it normal standard dexes that you would trade on normally, or how do you work?
To be frank, I think most of our users are high frequency traders. So let me give a little bit background of why we start, the project at the beginning. Well, we have a bunch of clients. They want to trade on behalf of their clients, right? So initially, they also only trade on centralized exchange like Binance, Bybit, that kind of sub accounts. They used to have some high frequency trading, the preps, etc. But then back then, it didn't really exist in DeFi, in any other chains. If you want to play some high frequency trading, you have to take the counterparty risk. You have to take the assets from your clients, all right, in order to put into your own wallet, and then you incorporate your private key on your computer so that you can automate everything. Well, this is where our main clients or users are coming from. So in order to meet their needs, we need a solution that actually cater for high frequency trading settings. So initially, we actually looked at Cardano. Well, it basically the fee and all that, it didn't really make sense for high frequency traders like our users. But now, with Hydra and also with DeltaDefi, that could be a potential use case for our clients. So putting into perspective, it's like our clients trading, I think roughly around 50 million sort of volume per month. This is sort of the volume that we are observing from our users, and most of them are, still in EVM. But where I think the next value or next, the trading ecosystem is actually where the inefficiency are. If there are inefficiency, there are profits, and then that will attract the traders like our users. So to answer your question, like Craig, I think this kind of infrastructure setup is really necessity to our clients.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose what you guys could bring is help with the volumes of traffic or the amount of assets that are there to be traded, because I think that's always, to me, that's always the biggest struggle for new DEXs or new DeFi coming out there, is getting the initial users, getting enough liquidity. Because if you don't have enough liquidity, then it's not a great trading experience for others. If there isn't enough to fulfill, or there's too much slippage and things like that. But have you looked at initial liquidity for DeltaDefi yet?
Exactly what you said is like absolute. If you are losing money, you wouldn't want to trade anything. So initially there are like 2 points that bring us in. The first one will be the catalyst that bring our development prospects, so that we had more fielded development costs on that front. And the second one would be actually our cooperation with DeltaDefi. We would not bring in the bunch of the trading volume like Snap, but we will bring in like bit by bit. It also depend on the trading volume and also the liquidity that taking place. So put it into perspective, it's like what we are having. The spread, in other chains is talking about like 10 basis point. So if DeltaDefi, we are able to, making anything closer to that, sort of, spread and also liquidity in the bid ask, that will make things possible in our end. But obviously, we only a platform, provider. We provide this, infrastructure to our users, and the next step is, to educate them. Okay, there are profits that you can trade with. There are potential new protocol that you guys should test on, and etc. But that I think will take time.
Yeah, I think the current markets would be great to have solutions like this. When you look at the volatility that's out there, these types of solutions will be great to have. But you mentioned Catalyst there. I don't know who wants to get into different Catalyst proposals. I might come back, Trym. You have a few, I think, in general for Hydra. We'll come back to them in a minute. Hinson, for DeltaDefi and KnightSafe, there are some combined ones, are there?
Yep. I think in this round, we have 2 proposals that literally just our team and KnightSafe's team working together. The first one is in general, bringing them into Cardano. This is a more L1 focus in integration is like having KnightSafe in prototyping on Cardano, so that Cardano people like you and me could see there are some strategies managed by certain clients of KnightSafe that a retail could stake your ADAs in, and then maybe it's saying that maybe it's trading on a several DEXs or DeFi, getting a certain expected percentage of yield. And then any point that you find out the strategy is not working well, you could just withdraw your fund anytime. So this is a general proposal of more on research and development to looking into what's the difference between EVM and UTXO. And prior to submitting proposal, me and Phillips has already done a little bit of slight research, and probably it's okay. Just got a few of the UX kind of trade-offs. So this is the first proposal. The second is about more specifically DeltaDefi and Hydra and KnightSafe supporting DeltaDefi Hydra implementation. So because we are doing a lot of things in L2, the integration is slightly different than directly on L1 that we suspect. Yeah, after the initial research. So that one is more about DeltaDefi specifically. So we go for these two proposals together because our team is super familiar with Cardano tech, and for KnightSafe is super familiar with their own use case, how to do the kind of best key management with Cardano wallet and so forth. So we try to go for these things together to kind of contribute different angles from different perspectives from different angles to make this thing happen. So after these two proposals, we could expect, for example, after the DeFi live Q1 or Q2, there will be some fund or trading strategy that you and me could provide liquidity into. For example, generic ADA USDM market making strategy. Just take your ADA or USDM, and the trader will copy the Binance spot onto DeltaDefi to maintain a closer spread. And then when you provide liquidity to support this strategy, you're essentially just using your capital to do some arbitrage. There will be some real yield, we say, not just by distributing token. The percentages will only come from trading profits. That's something that Cardano community could expect, and super new to everyone as well. And with that initial retail liquidity, we kind of confident to maintain a as close spread as possible, at least to the kind of more heavily traded pairs, aka ADA to stablecoin. So we try to make this thing right at the beginning, and yeah.
Nice. I look forward to seeing that go live. I can put links to them proposals down the bottom. And Trym, come back over to you before you get into the different proposals. I just want to talk about this for a minute. And this is another use case of Hydra. This is the Doom Tournament. So do you want to give the quick rundown on this, and then we can look at the proposals you have?
Yeah, sure. So you know, for those of you who may have missed the thing we did in Rare Evo, basically we got Doom running on Hydra as a tech demonstration to show sort of how performant it is, because Doom runs at 35 frames per second. What we did is we're submitting the game state and validating the game state with a smart contract or a game state transition every frame of the game. So each game instance is submitting 35 transactions per second. For Rare Evo, though, that was only single player. This time we're stepping up the ante. We are not only adding multiplayer and deathmatch to the mix, but we're actually hosting a tournament with real money on the line. It's going to be paid out, as you can see on screen, 100,000 USDM. It's going to be settled on chain after the finale, and there's a couple of different prizes as well. That even if you don't make it to the finale, you might be able to snab. And all of this because at Rare Evo we ran the Hydra heads in what's called offline mode, which is it's doing the exact same thing. It's just not spun up from one of the networks, so testnet or mainnet. This time we are doing this as real, actual limit test of the technology. So we're spinning up these as real Hydra heads on mainnet for the tournament. So what this means is this is an opportunity for us as, an ecosystem, and, as anyone interested, first of all, to maybe, get a little bit of rewards for playing an old video game. But the way that I see this is it's a limit test for Hydra. It's an incredible opportunity to get as many people trying it out as at the same time. So instead of us, providing benchmarks by having bots send stuff back and forth on the same server, this is real people all over the world interacting with Hydra heads, playing a video game. So it has to be real-time, smooth operation and all of this. And depending on how many people connect, we can see how far we can push this thing, because we're going to measure the throughput in aggregate sort of across all of the different Hydra heads as we do this, and see sort of how far we can push this. So the more people that join, the higher the number will be, basically, of the aggregate throughput. So the total TPS across all of the Hydra heads. It's using one of the features that I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about Hydra, which is that, I mentioned that it's like a parallel little blockchain that you can use for some stuff. One of the strengths of Hydra is that you can spin up as many of these parallel blockchains as you need, right? Or they're not producing blocks, so it's not technically a blockchain, but these state channels, right? So you can spin up as many of them as you want or need. So we're planning to spin up an absolute bunch for this, and it will be a good test to see in aggregate how much is the throughput of this system able to do with organic traffic, like people coming in and playing it. So hopefully, we'll have a successful tournament, and maybe some headlines as well. We'll see. But for this, we're doing so many fun things. We're creating a custom map, so anyone in the Cardano ecosystem are welcome to submit some stuff to that, to literally put their project on the map. As people will be running around and shooting each other and looking for other players and stuff, they will see your logo on the wall, or they will hold a gun that's shaped like, I don't know, a husky or something. So there's all kinds of things that you can do in the game, because you can customize literally everything on screen. I just did a stream on Friday with Farid. If you want to, maybe look on how to submit some stuff, I walk through the whole process, what you need, how to submit, all of this stuff. So it's really, really simple. And I'm hoping that the resulting map will be sort of a celebration of the Cardano ecosystem. So the tournament, we're going to have a qualifier round with a limited time window. The limited time window is just there to have as many people playing at the same time as possible on December 3rd. And after that, we're going to have a PvP ranking round. So the qualifier is going to be player versus bots. And we're going to have a PvP ranking round after that. And then the people that rank the best across all of the regions will be invited for an in-person finale in January. So that's going to be an incredible event as well. And yeah, as soon as I have more details on what exactly that's going to look like that I can share, I'll be shouting from the rooftops about that as well.
Yeah, for what you mentioned with Farid's video, I'm sure most people watching here already subscribed to Farid on dApps Central, but I can put a link to that one below for anyone that wants to check it out and get their logos or whatever it is submitted for the map. And there are some, I don't know if they're community proposals related to Hydra that you wanted to just mention.
Yeah, sure. So I won't go as far as to say go to Idea Scale, just type in Hydra and choose all of those, because really look at these things, critically evaluate who's the team, what's the actual ask, what's the utility of the thing being proposed, and don't take what I'm saying here as a you should vote for this. This is just a couple of proposals that I want to bring to your attention that I think might be worth looking at, because there are quite a lot. You only have so much time to look at them, but these are some of the ones that I want to highlight. The first one that I maybe want to bring up is a interoperability protocol that we are doing. The Hydra team is actually doing with Philip DeSaro from Anastasia Labs and Midgard. Which is going to be an incredibly useful feature for not just Hydra, but also for other EUTXO-based layer 2s like Midgard, like the ZK layer 2, and other sort of roll-ups. So it's not a full implementation. It's basically just like a feasibility prototype study thing. But Sebastian Nagel, who was instrumental to making the Hydra protocol, Philip Desaro, who's working on the Midgard protocol, they're both involved, and I think it's going to be an incredibly useful feature to have. So that one is definitely worth a look. There's a couple of other ones. Ikigai, for example, is a team that has a couple of ones. They are one of the teams in the Cardano ecosystem that have made an actual product with Hydra already. It's an auction platform that allows you to bid on random tokens. It could be, an NFT, for example. They've done a couple of live streams where they do these auctions, and I'm quite, impressed by what they've been able to do with the tech as it is. And they have a couple of other things working on the side. So they have a game called Ascent Rivals. There's a lot of interoperability that could be done with Hydra and the game itself on the back end. So I'm very, enthusiastic about all of the stuff that they are doing with Hydra, because we're seeing real use, and their game is on Steam, so that should tell you sort of how, or at least a little bit about sort of the how far in the progress they actually are. The third one that I want to mention is there is a project called Blazar Labs. They are working on a wine tracking system, which can be generalized to more general purpose supply chain tracking. Hydra fits in a very interesting way there, because when you're taking and tokenizing assets like wines, so fine wines, they're kind of collectibles. So sometimes you don't want to drink the wine, you just want to buy it, hold it, and then sell it on. So they have sort of a slightly different purpose than what I'm used to when it comes to wines. But when they're actually being stored, the conditions in which they're being stored is quite important. So how they're using Hydra for this is they're connecting the actual tokenized bottle with a Hydra head that is tracking the basically IoT feeds from the warehouse in which it's being stored. So it will track, temperature, seismic activity, moisture, that kind of thing. And they have IoT devices that are feeding this into a Hydra head continuously. And then the token on the layer 1 is referencing this Hydra head. So you can see, once the wallet standards are integrated properly, if you have this token in your wallet, you should be able to see in real time what the current conditions and the historical conditions for this bottle is. And the same applies during, transportation and different things, because, you have like sediments in the bottle that you want to not shake up too much. And there's, a bunch of interesting use cases with this. So why I think this is useful is, well, wine is one thing, and, these fine wines is quite an interesting use case, and they have an incredible collaboration with the Moldovan government, which is one of the locations that are, it's the origin of wine as a concept is from this region. But in addition to this, they're doing, both the IoT integrations and the RFID integration, which is super useful for supply chain tracking in general. So, you can think that whatever they're making here will be applicable to other things down the line. So other things that where you might want to do supply chain tracking, where you might want to do some, warehouse tracking and these things. So what my focus is on these days is the tools and, things that are being made for Hydra. First, are they open source? Which is, to me, very important, because if it's not open source, it just means other people aren't going to be able to benefit from these things that are being made. So for the Hydra Doom thing, for example, we're open sourcing everything, and we're doing a lot of things that are going to help everyone when it comes to deployment, when it comes to operations, when it comes to a lot of different tools that you might need. So when you're evaluating these proposals, I really recommend looking at that, and obviously, how reasonable is the ask in terms of size. But also the thing that they are making, is it reusable in other situations? Is this something that can benefit other projects? Because from where I'm coming from, things like Gummy Worm, for example, which is something that SundaySwap has been working on for a while, and they're going to be hopefully making a prototype of soon. that's a platform that will benefit a lot of different things, because it's not just a DEX, it's a way of using Hydra that will enable so many different types of applications. So that's an example of a very high value sort of addition to the Hydra ecosystem. So what I'm really trying to encourage is similar things like that, in addition to specific implementations like, DeltaDefi, who's going to be helping with, as I mentioned, when you can unlock trading instruments like leverage trading and perpetuals, you can increase the trading volume significantly. You can make things so much faster and more sort of capitally efficient. So when you take this into consideration, it will really boost, the sort of activity on the ecosystem quite significantly. So these are sort of the impactful things that are what I'm really looking to help sort of advocate for. And if you have a good proposal and I didn't mention it, it doesn't mean that it's not a good proposal. So I didn't cover everyone by far. I just cover the ones that I've been acutely aware of, in addition to the DeltaDefi and the mesh proposals that I really recommend looking at as well. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that. And if you can send me the list of them, I can add them to the description below for people who want to go and check them out a bit deeper. This video should be out just before voting starts.
Sorry to interrupt. There's one more that I just have to mention. One where I almost forgot, and then I did like this, and I thought, looks like a zero, and then it came to mind. Hosky. I managed to, convince them to submit a proposal for what I think could be super useful. So if you're not in the Hosky Discord, what are you doing? But if you are, you may have seen that they have a tipping bot, which is incredibly active. They're like, tipping, like they have a lot of features. It's happening all the time. So, it's the way to pick up some Hosky tokens, basically. Like, don't buy them. That's just a much more efficient and approachable way of actually getting your hands on them if you even want it. I don't recommend it. But I recommended them to have a look at Hydra as a possible solution for decentralizing or sort of trying to Web3ify tipping bots a little bit, because currently the solution is like super centralized. There's no real ownership. Like, there's a company that is just like hosting these Discord bots or whatever, and you have to basically request them to send the assets to the address that you specify. And it's, it's good, it's useful, it's very fun, but it's not really, it's not close to Web3 or, self-custody or any of these good aspects. So there is a proposal in there for a Hydra-based tipping bot, Hosky:treat, which I think could be quite useful. So not just for Discord, but for Telegram, for Twitter, for different places where you want to do something like this. And it's, you can. I know that people have differing opinions on meme coins and this sort of part of the space that is very sort of high frequency, but it's undeniable that it is quite useful, especially for onboarding. The Hosky team, they have this proof of onboarding cards already, so this will further help onboard people into the Cardano ecosystem. So that one I really would like you to vote on if I can be so bold.
Hosky is dangerously becoming maybe worth more than zero, or providing more value than zero lately with fetch and with everything. But we'll get into that another time. But if you guys can send me the proposals, hopefully what we've went through today has given people good insights into Hydra, KnightSafe, DeltaDefi, how things can be used together as well, and some potential use cases. Maybe even spring some ideas for other people that are looking to build on the ecosystem or get involved. Maybe they haven't got involved because things move a little bit too slow in terms of trading, and there is solutions on the way. Guys, thanks very much to Ollie for your time today, and best of luck in Catalyst, and I look forward to seeing the products coming out too, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks everyone for watching. Please do share it out. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, and ask questions in the comments section, and I'll try and get back, or I'll get answers from the teams if I don't know myself. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.